Welcome to BC Talks. I'm Brandon Cody, and today we are starting the very first episode of a new series here on the channel called I Got the Keys. And I'm going to let y'all know this is probably one of my favorite series that we're going to have on the channel. I Got the Keys is going to be a weekly series where we're going to be talking about some of the interesting comics from my PC or my personal collection. Each episode, we're going to highlight one key or important issue, one variant cover, and then one funny or meme cover that I have. And then at the end, we're going to run through some of the comics that I picked up either through the mail or from the shop or different places that week. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to give y'all the rundown on some basic comic book terms that you might not know if you're newer to comics or if you're just getting into comics, you just started collecting. That way, you can just have some tools when you're going out to buy or when you're looking at different comics online. Now, one of the first things you might hear is a short box. A short box is these things back here that you see on the dresser back there. The short box is basically what it sounds like. It's a short box of comics that you keep a short box that you keep your comics in. Usually they're cardboard. I've got a fabric one back there too, but they like I said, they're just a short box that you keep your comic books in, and there are also long boxes, which, yeah, you guessed it, they're long boxes that you would keep the comic books in. So if you ever walk into a comic book shop or you've been to a place that sells comics, you'll usually see a bunch of comics in short or usually long boxes at a comic book shop because they've got a lot of them. And those are the cardboard boxes that you flip through the individual issues for. Now, another term that you might hear is a back issue. Now, a back issue is just an older version of a comic. Anything, it's basically what it sounds like, an older version of a comic compared to the newer series. But even newer series, basically any issue that's not current is a back issue. And now, the namesake of this series, I Got the Keys, a key issue or a key, as they're just usually called, that is an issue of a comic book that has key significance to a run or a story in the comics. So it might be an important issue, like somebody's first appearance in comics, or the origin of a character, like the story of their backstory told in a comic. It might be a big event that changed the universe or changed a character's life in a significant way. Or things like that. Things that are important in a story or a comic book. Those are called key issues. So that's why the series is called I Got the Keys. And key issues, obviously, because they're more important issues, they usually will cost more and sell for more the more important the issue or the key is. And now, variant covers, they are covers of a comic book that they basically are. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but again, if you're newer, you might not you might not know these. So I'm just letting y'all know, just to have so you can have a little knowledge. So anyway, a variant cover is what it sounds like. It's a variant to the main cover of a comic book. So there will always be a main cover, and then sometimes they'll have variants. Especially as you get onto the newer comic books these days, some of them will have like 20, 30 different variants from artists. But they're basically different artists than the main artist on the book. And they're basically a way to show off some cool art or to be artistic more so than the main cover. So those are variant covers, and I like to collect variant covers that are that have cool art or look cool, things like that. Now, another term you might have heard when referring to comics is ages. So a comic book age is basically the time period that the comic book was created in. And obviously, the older the age of the older the comic book, the more sought after it will be, and the more it will cost, and the more it will sell for. Of course, depending on the condition. But even platinum age or golden age comic books that are in poor condition will sell for thousands, maybe tens of thousands, depending on the issue. Um, Even more than a newer comic book that's in great condition. And I have an article over here that goes over the ages pretty well. If we come over here, and you can see the platinum age. Now they're like generations. there are there's some crossover, and there's a little bit of debate between what exactly the ages are, but it's pretty much this. 1897 to 1937 is considered the platinum age, which you rarely see comic books from this age because just that was a long time ago, so they would be in really poor condition. But like it says here, they're the rarest of comics because of how old they are. You rarely see them, but if you see one, uh, it's probably going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars just because how old it is, especially if it's the better condition it's in. But a lot of those you'll probably find without covers. They might have a lot of rips and tears and whatnot. Now, the golden age is what you'll most commonly see in older comics. You can see here's this Action Comics #1, which is the first Superman. That one's a lot of money. But that golden age is 1938 to 1956. And like I said, these are the ones you'll see most usually. And these ones go for a lot of money because there's a lot of first appearances of major characters in the golden age, obviously, because this was when it's called the golden age because this was the basically the foundation of modern comics, kind of like how it says here. There's a lot of introductions, like again, this is the night from 1938. It is Action Comics #1, who was basically Superman was the first costumed hero. A lot of the Platinum Age comics were like mystery stories, detective stories, kind of like Detective Comics too, where Batman comes from. Uh, but a lot of them were kind of serials, funnies, things like that. The Golden Age is really where comic books first uh, became what they are now. So there's a lot of first appearances, a lot of like classic staples, like it says here: Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, the original Captain Marvel, uh, and Captain America. Those kind of characters you'll find in the Golden Age, and again, those are probably going to be tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the condition. Now, the Silver Age, that is 1956 to 1969, and a lot of people like here says they credit it 1956 was when a new Flash was introduced, which was Barry Allen's debut in Showcase #4. They count that as the beginning of the Silver Age. Uh, and there was also Fantastic Four #1 as well. The Bronze Age, which is probably where you'll see most of the older comics. And if you go to a comic book shop, a lot of them will probably be Bronze Age because these are a little bit cheaper, a little bit easier to afford. I've got a ton of Bronze Age. The Bronze Age is 1970 to 1984, and there's a lot of like, let's see, they have X-Men here. A lot of X-Men are Bronze Age. A lot of the X-Men that you know them as today are from the Bronze Age. And then there's the Modern Age, which is 1984 to the present. So you might think 1984 is not that modern, depending on how old you are, but that span of time is considered the Modern Age. And so, like I said, it depends on the condition of the book, but the older you go, the older a comic book is, the farther back in the ages you go, the more and more it is going to cost, especially the better the condition. And it's really hard to find golden age, and again, you're probably never going to see a platinum age comic book in your life unless you go to like an antique place that specifies in those kind of things. Usually, if you go in a comic book shop and you see the really older comics, it's golden age ones, um, because a lot of the platinum age ones, they were not comics, just weren't what they are when they became the gold when we got to the golden age. So another term that you might hear when referring to comics, that is newsstands or direct editions. Um, Now, I am going to show y'all another article here, but basically, the difference between a newsstand and a direct edition is that the most basic way you can tell. And let me see if I got a direct edition over here. Yes. All right, so then we're going to see this one a little bit later, but just for the purposes of now. So, a newsstand most usually are going to be the comics that you see with the barcode down there in the bottom. Oh, my hand's blocking that. The barcode down there in the bottom corner. Now, there are direct editions with barcodes on them. Usually, so don't, if you're going to buy comic books and you're looking for newsstands or direct editions, don't just get one comic with a barcode and think, oh, that's a newsstand. There are some comic books with barcodes that are direct editions. Usually, it'll say direct edition in on top of the barcode if it is a barcode that's a direct edition. But for the most part, direct edition newsstands are the ones with the barcode, and they're the barcode specifically with. Let's see if you can see it there. It'll have two numbers in the top right of the barcode, the very top of the barcode there. See that one says 07. And a that's compared to a direct edition, which you can see here. So a direct edition, you see that there. There's a cool one with. We're gonna talk about this later, but there's Batman, the Bat with the Gat. I call this one. But a direct edition is a usually you can tell them again. There are some direct editions with barcodes, but usually you can tell. You see that little box in the corner where it says "Who watches the Watchmen" in the place of the barcode. Usually, in the place of a barcode, a direct edition will have some sort of art or it'll have a picture of a character or something like that, where it says "Who watches the Watchmen" with a logo or something. Usually, the ones it'll have like a logo of some sort or some sort of art. So that's how you tell. And then the difference between newsstands and direct editions. There's a pretty good article here. A newsstand, you can see here. So basically, newsstands were comic books that were kind of, if you, well, depending on your age, you might not know what a newsstand is or where you live. But newsstands, they were the ones that were outside, or they might have been in a bookstore or a pharmacy, like it says here, and they were editions of comic books that were basically sold in stacks. They'd be wrapped up, with like string or whatnot or rope, and then shipped out to different places like mostly newsstands, but also bookstores, pharmacies, basically anywhere that's not a comic book shop. That had stands where they would sell like magazines and newspapers and things like that. They put comic books there too, and direct editions are books where where that were sent, in boxes, shipped nicely to each comic book store, and the comic they were specifically for comic book stores to be sold in the stores, and so the difference between them, you can see that here. The difference between them, and then you see here it's telling you about the barcodes. Again, there are some barcodes that are direct editions, so you have to make sure if it's a barcode that's a direct edition that it doesn't say direct edition in the box. If you look at the top, as you can see in the example here, it will have two numbers on the top right side of the barcode. Now, the difference between newsstands and direct editions is that some, depending on the condition, a newsstand might be worth more than a direct edition. Most of the time, newsstands are worth more than direct editions because newsstands, again, they were not sold to be in comic book stores. They were in on newsstands with magazines and other newspapers and articles and stuff. So they usually weren't kept in the best condition. The top ones in the stack and the bottom ones in the stack would, they'd be dropped on the ground, they'd be messed up. A lot of people, they'd be going through a lot of hands. People wouldn't be taking as good care of them. Kids would be grabbing them, things like that. So usually, if you can find a newsstand in a good condition, it will be worth more than a direct edition that's in the same condition. Usually, not always, but for the most part. And that's again because direct editions were specifically sold in comic book shops where they were taken care of and people understood what they were. So the better condition of a newsstand you can find, the more it will be worth compared to its direct edition counterpart. So that's basically the rundown of direct editions and newsstands. That's a term you might hear a lot when you're buying comics, and a lot of people, when they first get into comics, they don't understand the difference between newsstands and direct editions, and that can kind of help you to save money and not get tricked by people that are selling you comics. Now that we've gone over some of the basic comic book terms, we're going to get back to my personal collection, or PC. That's another comic book term. And because this is the first ever episode of I Got the Keys, I decided to pick up some firsts for today's show. So the first one, again, we're going to go over a main or a key or a main issue. We're going to go over a meme cover and then a variant cover. So the first key that I have here, this is a big boy one here. This is Avengers Annual #7. You can see Thanos up there at the top, and then all the Avengers down in the corner. Avengers Annual #7. Again, you see the two numbers in the barcode. I don't know if it's focused or not. Yeah, there it goes. This is a newsstand edition. The condition's okay. Not the best. I'd probably give it like maybe a 5.5 or a 6, which is another term you might hear. This grading. So if you see, obviously, what a grading scale is. Obviously, the closer to 10, the better condition a comic book is. And then they might be very good. They might be fine. You might hear near mint, which means they're basically perfect. So if you hear those terms, those are some more terms that I forgot to mention before. But this is Avengers Annual #7. This is a big boy key right here. This is the first appearance of all 6 Infinity Stones. That's the Soul Stone, the Time Stone, the Space Stone, the Mind Stone, the Reality Stone, and the Power Stone. This is the first appearance of Thanos and Adam Warlock. And this is the death of Adam Warlock, the death of Pip the Troll, sorry, and the death of Gamora. Now, obviously, you probably recognize Thanos from if the MCU, the Marvel movies. He was the big bad of the last couple of phases of the MCU, and probably the best, well, not probably the best MCU villain we've had so far. But Thanos in the comics is not a lot like he was in the movies. I still think they did a really good job of him in the movies and what they switched up. But we all know Thanos, the Mad Titan, um, the boss from the MCU. But name and you probably know Gamora because she's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which the new one's gonna come out this he's the Gamora. If you don't know, she's the one the green one that Thanos pushes off the cliff in Vormir to get the Soul Stone. And but a name you might not know is Warlock or Pip the Troll. I actually talked about Adam Warlock in the latest episode of um, What's the Issue, where I talk about the new comic book issues that have come out for the week and give my recommendations. If you want to watch that video, you can check up at the top. There'll be a link to check that. But a new Adam Warlock comic book, basically introducing you to the character, came out. So if you want to learn about him, you can check that out. But basically, Warlock, as he was called back then, he got the name Adam Warlock a little bit later. And then also, his original name was Him. That's what they called him for the longest time. Then they changed it to Warlock. Then he became Adam Warlock. But Adam Warlock is actually gonna be in the MCU. He's going to be in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So if y'all go see that, you'll see Adam Warlock. Or if you've seen the trailers, he's the orange guy. You might have seen the memes as well. Those are pretty funny. from the trailer of him flying through the air. Those are pretty funny. And then Pip the Troll. If you've watched Eternals, which I guess that movie didn't do too well in the theater, so a lot of y'all might not have seen it. I guess it did better on Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus and you watch the Eternals, at the very end in the end credit scene, there's a scene with Star Fox, who is played by Harry Styles, and then a CGI character, a little troll guy named Pip the Troll. And Pip the Troll and Gamora are actually, they have a pretty big role in, with Adam Warlock. So Pip the Troll, he is that guy that was at the end of the movie Eternals. But getting back to this book here, again, this is the first appearance of all the Infinity Stones, of all of them together. And like I said, Thanos is not like he is in the comics and the movies. In the comic, basically, Thanos, he wants to get the Infinity Stones so he can kill a bunch of people because he's in love with Lady Death, who, the personification of death. So obviously, killing a lot of people he thinks would win her over to him. So that's why he wants to kill everybody in the comics. So I think the reason they gave Thanos to kill people in the movies was a lot better, because Thanos was over here simping in the comics. But I'll show y'all some of the shots from the inside of the comic book. There's a cool ad on the first page there, really colorful. And then now this comic book, Avengers Annual number 7, it was written by Jim Starlin. He also did the art, the legendary Jim Starlin. And this came out in August of 1977. And here's a good shot of Adam Warlock there. You can see he's orange, and he's got the Soul Stone up on the top of his head, kind of like Vision in the comic books. I'm interested to see how they get the Soul Stone into Adam Warlock in the movies. That's because I think we saw him with it in his forehead in the trailer, if I'm not mistaken. But these older comic books are always interesting because they have these different ads, and then they have ads on the back too. This is an ad for Spalding, the basketballs. You can see the guy dunking there and whatnot. But yeah, this is an interesting issue. Basically, Thanos is trying to get the Infinity Stones into the Gauntlet so he can, murder everybody. So Lady Death will fall in love with him, and the Avengers are trying to stop him. You can see there, and they kind of fail. And Adam Warlock gets his block knocked off by and Pip the Troll and Gamora too. There's Vision, and then you can see Scarlet Witch there in the bottom. They get defeated, and you have to come back to the next annual to see what happens. But here's a good splash page here. Well, it's not really a splash page, it's just one page. A splash page is usually 2 pages. That's a cool shot of all of them. And yeah, so that's basically it. And then but that's a really cool issue there. Again, the first appearance of all 6 Infinity Stones, the death of Adam Warlock, who's coming to the MCU, the death of Pit the Troll, who cameoed in the MCU at the end, the death of Gamora, who we all know and love from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thanos and Warlock's first battle. Obviously, we're not going to see Thanos and Warlock battle, sadly, in the MCU, but maybe if they do Secret Wars and he comes back, because everybody can come back in Secret Wars. And now the variant cover. Actually, I'll show y'all the meme cover next. The meme cover, this one's one of my favorites here. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 183. Again, this is, you can see at the top corner there, and I got it in a Mylar, so it's shining. You can see the lights in the back. But there is the 2 numbers in the top of the barcode, which indicates it's a newsstand. And now Amazing Spider-Man 183. This is, you can see on the front, this is the first appearance of the Big Wheel. Now, the Big Wheel, if you don't know, his name is Jackson Wheel. His name was actually Axel Wheel because, again, like I mentioned in another video, Marvel was very creative back in these days, coming up with names. Spider Man. And Axel Wheel, the guy with the wheel, his name's Axel Wheel, but he actually changes his name in the comics legally to Jackson. And you can kind of see him up there. I don't know. Well, you probably can't because he's the green guy in the thing. You probably can't because the light's shining off the mylar, glistening. But he's basically a meme character. Back in the earlier Amazing Spider-Mans, I mean, this is a 187, so it's not that earlier. But back in like the sub 200, it's even later than that too. Spider-Man has a lot of minor villains you might not have heard of. That's because Spider-Man was the most popular character for Marvel for the longest time. I think he still is their bestseller, but he was their bestseller, so they were pumping out issues, and they had to come up with villains. You can't fight Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, and Doc Ock every issue. So they had some not fillers, but I guess basically fillers. And the Big Wheel was one of those. There were a lot of kind of funny, jokey villains that Spider-Man fought. He would walk into an ice cream shop, and the ice cream might be melted, and the guy would get mad. So now he's the ice cream bandit. Things like that. Stupid little things. And then his name would be Ice Cream, because again, Marvel's very creative. But yeah, so the Big Wheel, he's a funny character that I like. So that's a meme cover that I have in my PC, my personal collection, and I'm really hoping that they somehow incorporate the Big Wheel into the movies somehow, even if it's just a little cameo. He's not that big of a character to have to be the main villain, obviously. But if he's just rolling through the back, he's actually the Big Wheel. He did have a appearance in the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s. He actually had a whole episode dedicated to himself. And that one was a very funny, interesting, memey episode. If you haven't watched Spider-Man the animated series, you should go watch that episode. I can't remember the name of it, but if you just look up the Big Wheel Spider-Man animated series, you can find it pretty easily. Um, but they're doing a new animated series in the MCU based on Tom Holland's Spider-Man when he was in high school as Spider-Man. So since they're doing an animated series, they're probably gonna have some smaller villains in there. Since he was in high school, he didn't meet a lot of the bigger villains that we see him meeting later. So they're gonna have to fill it with some kind of villain. So I'm hoping we see the Big Wheel in that. But I'd really like to see him fighting Tom Holland in live action because that would be hilarious to see this giant wheel rolling around, and Tom Holland trying to escape it and not get crushed. I forgot to mention about this issue is that in issue number 182, the issue before this one, Peter Parker, Spider Man, he proposes to Mary Jane, and in this issue, she rejects his proposal. I was going to on so much about the Big Wheel, I almost forgot to tell y'all about that. So Spider Man, he proposes to Mary Jane in the issue before this, and then in this issue, she rejects his proposal, and the reason why she does that is revealed in numbers 257 to 259, and that is because it's revealed that Mary Jane actually knew that Peter was Spider-Man all the way back in Amazing Fantasy number 50 or 15, which came out in 1962. And this one, so that was almost 2 decades earlier. And she rejected his proposal because she had a troubled childhood because her parents had a tumultuous relationship, and so she didn't want to be in a relationship with Spider-Man because that would, make things complicated, and she didn't want to have to relive that experience and have a troubled relationship like her parents did. But to be honest, Mary Jane is already getting captured and taken by Spider-Man's villains so much that I don't really see what the difference would be if she was with him. It's not like it would happen more. It's already happening so much. So that's just a funny little thing about this issue as well. She rejects his proposal for that reason, but it's like you're getting captured all the time anyway. Now, the next one we got here is the variant cover. This is a newer one. This is Doom Patrol or Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 1. And this you can see there. What's that gray stuff? That is scratch off. I thought this one was interesting. This one came out a couple weeks ago, I think. Actually, I think the number two's coming out this next week. So if you want to catch my review of that, because I read this one a little late, but if you want to catch my review of that, check out What's the Issue number 3, my show about the new comic books that come out every week. That one will be coming up. They come out on Thursdays. Well, the comics come out Wednesdays. The videos come out Thursdays, and I'm pretty sure the next issue of this is coming out. So I will review that. But this is Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 1. It's got a scratch off cover, and there are 5 different covers, as you can see here. I have the scratch off cover, but like I said, I was reading it, and so I forgot to add it to this stack for today. But yeah, as you can see, there are 5 different covers. There's the Chainsaw Nun. If you're not familiar with the Doom Patrol, Jane, or Crazy Jane as she's called, she basically has DID, dissociative identity disorder. The new name for a multiple personality disorder, the technical name. So basically, she has a bunch of different personalities because of some trauma she had in her childhood, and each of her personalities has different like powers and whatnot. So there's the Chainsaw Nun, and in one of the scratch offs, there's Shy. I think it's just Shy Jane. She's called. There is the Sun Daddy, and there's Black Annis, and the Chief, and then that's the regular. That's the scratch off there. The Chief is the boss of the Doom Patrol. So, and if you've watched the Doom Patrol show on HBO Max, or Max as it's being named, which is the dumbest name, but I actually talked about that in my watch and play, which you can watch on the channel as well. HBO's changed their name to Max, which I think is dumb. But if you watched the Doom Patrol show on HBO Max, if you haven't, go watch it. It's awesome. But you probably are familiar with, you know, Crazy Jane and her personalities. So that's an interesting cover because it's a scratch off. I got this one. I have it not scratched off, and it's in a poly bag, which that's not going to protect it forever. But I just wanted to keep one unscratched. The scratched one again, I got like I said before, I got Black Annis, and that one's in my reading stack, so I forgot to grab that for the video. But yeah, so those are the 3 covers we're going over. Now we're gonna go over the everything I picked up this week, and this was a hefty week pickups here. So we're gonna go over these. This one is probably my favorite pickup of the week, or one of them. This one is Star Wars number 39, and I'll probably feature this one in a episode, as one of the keys or one of the main issues, because I really like this one. It's got Darth Vader on the cover, which again, it's in a Mylar, so the lights are shining off it. And you can see there, newsstand. It's got the 2 numbers above the top of the barcode, so you can tell it's a newsstand. And this one, this one is a key. Star Wars 39. It is a partial reprint of Marvel Super Special Super Special Magazine number 16. It is part 1 of the Empire Strikes movie adaptation. Sorry, the Empire Strikes Back movie adaptation that ran through issue 44. It's also the first mention of Rogue Squadron in a U.S. comic book. And there's a pilot in it that he radios to the home base with the signal called Rogue 2, so that's their reference. We'll talk more about it probably in a later issue of I Got the Keys, because that, and then it's at the top, this Marvel comic could be worth 2,500. It's not, I don't think, but not now. But maybe a 9.8 might be worth 2,500. I should have checked what 9.8s go for. 9.8 is pretty much the best score you can get on a comic book, because you can't get a 10. Pretty much impossible. But 9.8s are the best score you can get as far as grading goes, for the condition. But that's a cool one. This one is going on my Star Wars wall back there. So that was a pickup I enjoyed a lot. Another one I got this week that I liked, that was Avengers number 232. This one's in a mile, so the light's gonna shine off it. This is the issue where Eros is renamed Star Fox. So again, if you watched the Eternals, Star Fox was the guy played by Harry Styles in the end credit of the movie. We saw Harry Styles and Pip the Troll. Harry Styles, his character is Star Fox, and originally his name was Eros, but his name gets changed to Star Fox. Star Fox is actually the brother of Thanos. You might say he's his brother. How's he his brother when they don't look the same? But Thanos is a mutant version, if you will, of an Eternal. So that's why he's purple and he looks weird and got the nutsack chin. But yeah, so this is when Star Fox joins the Avengers. So this was one and again a newsstand you can see at the top or the top of the barcode. This is one I enjoyed to pick up because Harry Styles is going to be playing Star Fox in the MCU, so that's a cool one to have. This next one we saw in my example. It is the Bat with the Gat. It's Detective Comics 587. This one's also a key. It is part 4 of the Year 2 story. And as you can see there, Batman has got a gun. Contrary to popular knowledge, there are a lot of Batman stories where he's got a gun, and there's a lot of covers where he's got a gun. Um, Him not using guns is more of a, well, not necessarily a recent thing, but it depends on the writer. But yeah, there are a lot of Batman covers and stories where he's got a gun. So I've been collecting those because I think it's just funny to see Batman with a gun because you don't see that these days. Um, the next one we got here is X Factor number 6. This is a cool one. Again, it's in a Mylar, so the light shining off. This is the first, and you can see at the top newsstand. This is the first full appearance and the first cover appearance of Apocalypse. Now, if you saw that god awful movie by Fox, X Men: Age of Apocalypse, which I feel sad because Oscar Isaac played Apocalypse and he did the best he could. He's a great actor, Oscar Isaac. He is the guy who plays Moon Knight now. But before Moon Knight, he played Apocalypse, which he was in makeup. So you couldn't really tell it was him, but he was Apocalypse in that horrible Fox X-Men movie, Age of Apocalypse. That's him on the cover there. So hopefully now that Marvel, the MCU, they got the rights to the X-Men because they bought Fox. Hopefully they do Apocalypse right, because my goodness, that Fox X-Men movie was not good. The next one here, we're probably going to see this one in the meme covers later, but this is one I got this week. This is What If the second series of What If, issue number 42, and it's what if Spider-Man had kept his 6 arms. Now you might say, kept his 6 arms? What are y'all talking about? This story is based on events that happened in, and it's also a key as well. It's based on events that happened in The Amazing Spider-Man number 100, where Peter Parker, he developed a potion to remove his powers because he wanted to get rid of his powers. And as a result of that, the potion goes wrong and he grows 4 more arms. So you can see he's got 6 arms there on the cover. And it's also, the cover's an homage to Amazing Fantasy number 15, which that's Amazing Fantasy number 15. That is the cover that this is based on. And then it's also, obviously it's the first appearance of him with 6 arms. So that one is a funny one. Just because of that. Now, let me see here. And the next one we have here is Punisher War Journal number 7. You can see Punisher there on the cover. And that is Wolverine as well. And this one's now there's an example of a direct edition. You see in the corner, if I move my hand, in the corner you got Spider-Man, the logo instead of the UPC barcode. So that's how you can tell direct editions from newsstands most of the time. So this one was one that was sold directly in a comic book shop compared to the other ones which were in newsstands. Punisher World Journal is also key. It's the first team up of Punisher and the Wolverine. I always say team up. It looks like they're fighting, but that's how it always happens. They fight each other for a little bit, and then they become friends and they team up. So that's the first team up Punisher and Wolverine in comics. Then we also have X-Men, or sorry, Uncanny X-Men, number 211. This is a cool cover with Wolverine with his mask torn. It's got his claws glistening. And this one is the first full appearance of the Marauders, which is Arclight, Riptide, Vertigo, Harpoon, Scalp Hunter, and Scrambler. And it's also a specialty border that was printed on select covers in November 1986. And that was the first one since Fantastic Four, or the 25th year since Fantastic Four #1 was published. So they were celebrating that. The next one here, this one is not a key. It's just a cool cover that I saw at my local or a shop, so I picked it up. This is Nick Fury, Agents of Shield, number 28, and this is the third series of Nick Fury, Agents of Shield. Again, it's not a key; it's just a cool cover. If I come in here a little bit and get out of the light, you can see Nick Fury with a polar bear skin, and then everybody's favorite Wolverine down at the bottom, crouched down, looking like a fire album cover there. This next one is the second series of Superman, Superman number 11. This one is the first modern appearance of Mr. Mxyzptlk. If you don't know Mr. Mxyzptlk, he's that guy up there at the top, the little guy. And you can see it says, Mr. Mxyzptlk is the only dude for me. It's hard to pronounce his name because, as you can see, if I come in here, they spell it Mxyzplt or PTLK. So there's, I'm pretty sure it's Mxyzptlk, but you'll hear it different ways sometimes. But the first modern appearance of Mr. Mxyzptlk, his first actual appearance was in Superman number 30, all the way back in 1944. So obviously this one is from the modern, more not modern age, but it's his first modern appearance. Now this one, let's see here. This one here is probably gonna go in the meme ones one day. This is Unstoppable Squirrel Girl #1. This is her first solo limited series. It's also the first appearance of Thomas, who later becomes Chipmunk Kunk. Squirrel Girl is probably the most known meme character. You might know if you're familiar with comics. If not, she actually defeated Thanos, but it was off panel, so you don't actually watch her fighting Thanos. She just kind of beats him, and then she's standing over him, beaten. She beats a lot of characters. Um, she's probably one of the most powerful people in the comics because she beats a lot of characters and nobody knows how. It's kind of a meme that she just is able to beat these powerful characters. So that one's probably going to be in the meme covers later on. But that's the first solo series of Squirrel Girl. This one's cool because if you watched the trailer for if you watched the trailer for the new animated Spider-Man movie with Miles Morales, into I think it's Across the Spider-Verse. This one's 2099 unlimited, and you can see there that is Spider-Man number 29, 2099. And now this is a good one here because you can see this is one of those that has a barcode, but it says direct edition. And as y'all can see, it does not have the two numbers at the right side of the barcode. So that's one of the ones that will have a barcode, but it usually says direct edition if it's a direct edition. This one is not a key, but it's just a cool cover with Spider-Man 2099. And Spider-Man 2099 is going to be a big part of the new Spider-Verse movie. So that's a cool one to have. Then we have Cage #1. This is the first series. This is not a key, but it is the first issue of Luke Cage's first solo series. So that's a cool one there. You can see the first issue collector's item. They called all these collector's items because they were trying to sell them. And this is a direct edition. You see it's got the logo there. So that's a cool one. And let me see. So that's all the normal issues, the back issues. Now we're going to move on to the variants. This one here. Let's see. This one is Deceased War of the Undead Gods. And this one's a cool variant because it is a homage to the Straight Out of Compton um, album cover, and you can see there it says Straight Out of Gotham, and it's got all these the zombies. If you're not familiar with Deceased, it's basically the DC version of Marvel Zombies. All the heroes become zombies. That's a cool one, you know, because it's an homage to that classic hip hop album. The next ones we got here is Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo #5. These variants, I mean, variants are usually newer because variants covers are kind of a newer thing, more modern. You're rarely going to see variants of different older ages, especially the older back you go. They usually only had one cover. But this is Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo. This is the two cover. They're actually two different covers. It's cover B and cover C. And I thought these were cool because you can see it's got all the little Jokers, got Batman going absolutely crazy, and this is the other one with the Joker. So it's kind of if you put them together, you can see it makes a total picture. So that's cool. You know, there's all these Jokers and making Batman crazy, and the Jokers behind him with the knives. That's a cool one that I have. This one, another one we got here is Gotham City Year One, #6, and this is a George Molina variant. This one's kind of like in the noir style. You can see there, pretty cool cover there. The next one we got here is the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing #7. This series has probably some of the coolest variant covers of some of the more recent series. It's again the lights are shining in there, so it's hard to tell, but you can see it's got the Joker's mouth, and then it's kind of like those terracotta, you know, dolls where if one opens, keeps opening up, and then you see the Joker in there, kind of grinning inside his own mouth. Really creepy cover. And then this next one we got here is another variant of #7. So this is that same one, but this is the April Fool's one. So these came out the week of April Fools, and these are actually pretty cool. I like these. I think they should draw more covers like this. Not often, but where it's like kind of like a kid's drawing. It's a really interesting. There's a few of April Fool's variants. That's one that I got, and then this one is Wonder Woman 794. This is Jen Bartel. She does cool '90s variants of characters, usually Wonder Woman, and you can see, she's got that jacket on, looking like she's straight out of '90s club. That's a cool one. And then we have a newer one that is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. This one is a series I've heard a lot about. I actually read issue #1 and it was really good, so I'm gonna keep reading. I'm late to the party, but this is a foil variant, so that's a cool one of issue #5. And so those are all the variant covers that I got, and that is the first episode of I Got the Keys. So let me know down in the comments below what y'all thought of the issues. And the big wheel is a funny meme one that I love. Again, the Avengers Annual #7. That's a cool one because of all the Infinity Stones, and then Adam Warlock and Pip the Troll, who are going to be in the MCU. Let me know if you're going to be watching Guardians of the Galaxy to see Adam Warlock, um, which is coming out later in actually pretty soon. So let me know what y'all think about the episode down in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe, and I will catch y'all later.